Today for Primetime Local News, I'm joined with Chad Doherty, the Senior Fisheries Management Biologist with the Ministry of Environment in Meadow Lake, to talk about family-free fishing this weekend. Thank you so much for joining me here today.
No problem. My pleasure.
So, where are some spots that people can go fishing this weekend?
Well, it's the key thing to remember is that the free fishing weekend in Saskatchewan doesn't include the national park, and there has to be an open sport fishing season. So there are some waters that still have closures, and those are often for conservation measures. So just make sure the best thing to do actually is to check the angler's guide for the specific regulations. That includes potential closures, but also the bag limits as well as any size restrictions that you're looking to go to. And so you can find that information also on the saskatchewan.ca/fishing. But the best advice I can give people to actually try to find somewhere in their local area in Saskatchewan is to talk to the local bait dealer or tackle shop. People might not give you the details on the specific hotspot, but they're usually pretty good at giving you at least the water bodies that have been fishing fairly well in recent times.
So, when it comes to knowing where to go fishing and some rules and regulations, you would recommend going to the Angler's Guide?
Yeah, talk to the local tackle shop or bait dealer that you have, and other. You can also go online. There are various fishing forums that people might have. Like I say, they won't necessarily give real specific hotspots, but they'll give you some indication as to maybe how the action has been, whether it's been slow or maybe the time of day that might be fishing a little better. And it's fishing, so it can change from one day to another. That's the nature of, and sometimes the challenge and fun of the sport is that it can really vary from one day to another. But certainly the angler guide is a place I would go to ensure that you are following all the regulations that are in place for the Saskatchewan fishing. Although no fishing regulation is needed for the Family Day holiday long weekend, which runs this year from February 19th to 21st. All other sport fishing regulations in the province apply. So, like I mentioned, that's bag limits, size limits, and closed areas.
So, if somebody's new to the fishing scene, is there a place that people can go to rent equipment for just the weekend, or would you recommend they buy their own equipment?
Yeah, I don't know about rental, but ice fishing is a fairly can be it can be as expensive or as economical as you want to make it. I know that there are people that if they keep their fishing line in their hand and they don't use a rod, they don't use a tip up, they just keep the rod in their or the line directly in their hand and just jig it up and down. So it can be various expense levels, but it's what the individuals want to choose to do. But if this is the first time people are going out and trying it, if you know other people, I know that myself, I often will lend gear to people, that I know, friends and family. And that's what's so great about ice fishing and this weekend is it's as much about getting out and trying the sport, but also just spending time with family and friends. And if you know somebody that ice fishes, mention that you want to try to go out and try the sport. They'll already have the auger likely and some gear and may very well being able to be in a position to lend you some or help you out.
What are some safety tips that you can give people? I know the weather has been a little warmer here, at least in Lloydminster, and so some ice is maybe not thicker than others. Is there any tips that you can give for people safety wise when it comes to ice fishing?
Yeah, so from a safety perspective, one of the things I would really suggest is before you even head out, let somebody know where you plan to go and when you're planning to return. So that it's just the same as if you're heading out in the open water boating season. It's always good to have a plan and let somebody else know the details of what you're planning. As far as the other safety is, take the responsibility to check for yourself. Just because you may see other people out on the ice, don't make any assumptions. Uh, the ice conditions can vary and be patchy. So, in addition to thickness, as you mentioned, it's also a good idea to get a sense of the quality of the ice or if there are snow drifts or patches of slush. And the other thing to watch out for too is that if there's any variation in the ice because of potential currents that may be present. You can really have much thinner ice in areas where you have flowing current or flowing water and current conditions.
And is there anything you would like to add?
The other thing I would just mention is make sure you look at the weather forecast, dress appropriately, have layers of clothes. Many of the waters this year do have flood water and slush, so I would recommend making sure that all individuals have the proper footwear and outerwear to stay dry, and then have layers to be able to stay warm. The other thing I would say too is always having snacks or a lunch and something warm to drink. Especially if the fishing is a little bit slow, it can really, brighten the day. And then if there are younger kids involved too, taking time to do another activity while you're out ice fishing, building a snowman, something like that can also just make it an enjoyable, fun time. So they'll want to go again.
Well, thank you so much for joining me here today, Chad.
No problem. My pleasure.